4:03 a.m., July 6, 2022. A bomb detonates in rural Georgia, obliterating a monument that stood for 42 years. Security cameras capture the explosion, a massive fireball lighting up granite slabs that weighed 237,000 pounds. Within hours, what remained was demolished. But here's what the news didn't tell you. The bomber knew exactly where to place the explosive to cause maximum damage. They knew the surveillance blind spots, and they left no forensic evidence. This wasn't random vandalism. This was a surgical strike against what some called the 10 Commandments of the Antichrist. Welcome to the Rabbit Hole Chronicles. I'm Percival Blackwood, the Georgia Guidestones. For 4 decades, they stood in a remote pasture in Elbert County, Georgia. 6 massive granite slabs arranged with astronomical precision, inscribed in 8 languages with 10 principles for humanity's future. The first commandment: maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. 500 million. That's a 95% reduction from our current population. Let that sink in. Someone spent over $100,000 in 1980 money, that's $500,000 today, to erect a monument calling for the elimination of 7 billion people. They did it anonymously, using the pseudonym R.C. Christian, claiming to represent a small group of loyal Americans who'd been planning this for 20 years. And for 42 years, it stood there, visited by 20,000 people. Annually, protected by local government, maintained by the Granite Association, until someone decided it had to be destroyed. The official story is that we don't know who built it or who destroyed it, but that's not entirely true. In 2015, documentary filmmakers uncovered evidence pointing to Dr. Herbert Kirsten, an Iowa physician with documented interests in eugenics and population control. Letters, financial records, addresses, all connecting to the Guidestones' creation. Yet this discovery barely made the news. Why? And the bombing, still unsolved. Despite security footage, despite a massive investigation involving the GBI and FBI, despite the bomber using a silver sedan seen clearly on camera. In an age where we can track anyone through their phone, credit cards, and facial recognition, we're supposed to believe they can't find who blew up America's Stonehenge? Today, we're going to explore what the Georgia Guidestones really were, who was behind them, what they were preparing for, and why someone risked everything to destroy them. June 1979. A well-dressed man walks into Elberton Granite Finishing Company in Georgia. He introduces himself as Robert C. Christian, quickly clarifying it's a pseudonym chosen for his beliefs. He wants to commission a monument that will outlast civilization itself. Joe Fendley, the company president, thinks he's dealing with a lunatic. The specifications are insane. 4 19-foot granite slabs arranged around a central column, topped with a capstone. Astronomical alignments allowing it to function as a compass, calendar and clock. Text in 8 modern languages, plus 4 ancient ones. The thing needs to withstand catastrophic events. Fendley quotes an astronomical price to make him go away. The man doesn't flinch. He accepts immediately. But Christian needs someone local to handle the money and ensure his anonymity. Enter Wyatt Martin, president of Granite City Bank. Christian reveals his true identity to Martin alone, under oath of secrecy. Martin agrees, and for the next 42 years, he never breaks that oath. Even on his deathbed in 2021, he takes the secret to his grave. Or does he? Because Martin did leave clues, documents that filmmakers would later discover. A paper trail leading to Fort Dodge, Iowa. To a doctor named Herbert Kirsten, who wrote extensively about population control, eugenics, and the need for a new world order based on reason rather than religion. Christian purchases 5 acres on the highest point in Elbert County. He provides detailed blueprints, specifying everything, down to the astronomical alignments. The centre stone has a hole drilled through it, aligned with Polaris, a slot cut to mark the solstices. The capstone has an aperture for tracking the sun's yearly journey. But it's the inscriptions that matter. 10 guides for humanity, repeated in English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian, the languages of the major world populations. And on the capstone, in Babylonian cuneiform, classical Greek, Sanskrit, and Egyptian hieroglyphs. Let these be guidestones to an age of reason. March 22nd, 1980. The unveiling. About 100 locals gather to see what's been built in their backyard. As the tarps come off, a local minister immediately condemns it. This is for sun worshippers, cult worship, and devil worship, he declares. He's not entirely wrong. The 10 guides read like something between the 10 Commandments and a New World Order manifesto. 1. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. 2. Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. 3. Unite humanity with a living new language. 4. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. 5. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. 6. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. 7. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. 8. Balance personal rights with social duties. 9. Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. 10. Be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. The last line is repeated twice, as if to emphasize the point. These aren't suggestions, they're commands, and they outline a complete restructuring of human civilization. Population control, eugenic reproduction, one world language, global governance through a world court, the subordination of faith and tradition to tempered reason. R.C. Christian would later elaborate in a book called Common Sense Renewed, sent to world leaders and libraries in 1986. In it, he explains the stones are meant to survive an coming apocalypse, nuclear war, societal collapse, or natural disaster. They're instructions for the survivors on how to rebuild, how to avoid the mistakes that led to destruction. But there's a darker reading. What if they're not instructions for after a catastrophe, but for causing one? The date of unveiling, March 22nd, 3/22. In occult numerology, 322 is the number of Yale's Skull and Bones Society. Coincidence? The pseudonym C. Christian. Researchers immediately noted the connection to Christian Rosenkreutz, legendary founder of the Rosicrucians, a secret society dating to the 1600s dedicated to hidden knowledge and world transformation. The astronomical alignments mirror those of ancient sacred sites. The choice of languages includes Hebrew for its biblical significance, according to the creators. Yet the monument itself is decidedly non-biblical. It's pagan in the truest sense, aligned with celestial bodies, promoting harmony with nature over divine command. Within months of the unveiling, the first conspiracy theories emerge. The John Birch Society suggests it's a United Nations plot. Local fundamentalists call it the Devil's 10 Commandments. New Age enthusiasts praise it as channeled wisdom from advanced beings. But the real alarm bells start ringing when researchers do the math on that first commandment. 500 million people. In 1980, world population was 4.5 billion. To reach 500 million means eliminating 4 billion people. Today, with 8 billion people, it means eliminating 7.5 billion. How do you eliminate 94% of humanity while improving fitness and diversity? The second commandment provides a clue. Guide reproduction wisely. Guide. Control. Select who breeds and who doesn't. It's eugenics, spelled out in granite. By the 2000s, the Guidestones had become ground zero for New World Order theories. Alex Jones featured them repeatedly on InfoWars as proof of the globalist depopulation agenda. The monument perfectly embodied every fear about shadowy elites planning humanity's future. Anonymous funding, secret society symbolism, calls for world government, population reduction, eugenic breeding programs. The theories weren't entirely baseless, The 1970s had seen serious academic discussion of overpopulation. The Club of Rome's limits to growth predicted civilizational collapse. Paul Ehrlich's population bomb warned of mass starvation. Powerful figures like David Rockefeller and Ted Turner openly discussed population control. Turner himself said ideal world population would be 250 to 300 million, even less than the Guidestones suggested. Was R.C. Christian connected to these circles? The evidence suggests yes. Herbert Kirsten, the man identified as likely being Christian, was a respected physician. He had connections to Iowa's medical and political establishment. His writings, discovered by filmmakers, reveal obsessions with population control, racial fitness, and creating a rational world order. In one letter, Kirsten writes about the need to reduce the quantity of humanity while improving its quality. He discusses sterilization programs, selective breeding, the elimination of defective genes. This isn't conspiracy theory. These are his actual words in his own handwriting. But Kirsten was no lone eccentric. He corresponded with like-minded individuals across the country. The Guidestones project, he hints, involved multiple contributors and 20 years of planning. A small group of loyal Americans pooling resources and ideas. Who were they? We may never know for certain. Wyatt Martin destroyed most records before his death, but consider the timing and context. The late 1970s saw the convergence of multiple crisis narratives: environmental collapse, nuclear war, social breakdown. Elite institutions were actively discussing how to manage these threats. The Trilateral Commission, founded in 1973, brought together business and political leaders to coordinate policy across nations. The Carter administration was staffed with trilateral members. Documents from this period discuss population control, global governance, and managed economic decline as necessary for sustainability. Is it so outlandish that a group of wealthy, connected individuals might decide to erect a monument to their vision? A marker for future generations, or perhaps future managers, of a transformed world. The vandalism started in 2008. Death to the New World Order spray-painted across the stones. By 2014, someone had added a small cube with 20 and 14 etched on it. A date marker? A warning? Authorities quickly removed and destroyed it. Each attack brought more attention. YouTube videos dissecting every word, every alignment, every possible meaning. The Guidestones went viral repeatedly. By 2020, they were fully integrated into QAnon mythology, proof of the cabal's depopulation agenda, the Great Reset made manifest in granite. Then came 2022 and Candace Taylor's gubernatorial campaign. A far-right candidate running on Jesus, guns and babies. She made destroying the satanic Guidestones her #1 campaign promise. She called them Luciferian and claimed they were sacrificing blood on top of them, a reference to unverified reports of animal remains found at the site. Taylor finished third in the Republican primary, but her campaign had done something unprecedented. It made the Guidestones a political issue. They were no longer just a conspiracy curiosity, but a campaign platform, a test of ideological purity. 6 weeks after Taylor's defeat, someone took matters into their own hands. The bombing was professional. The explosive was placed at the exact stress point to bring down the northeast pillar. The bomber avoided all camera angles except one, keeping their face obscured. They used a common silver sedan, likely stolen or with fake plates. No fingerprints, no DNA, no digital footprint. This wasn't the angry redneck with dynamite. This was someone with knowledge of explosives, surveillance systems, and operational security. Someone who'd studied the site, planned the approach, and executed flawlessly. Within hours, authorities demolished the remaining stones, citing safety concerns. But many noted the unusual speed. Crime scene investigation typically takes days or weeks. Critical evidence could be in the rubble, yet they brought in heavy equipment and reduced everything to chunks within 12 hours. The official investigation has gone nowhere, despite the GBI, FBI, and ATF involvement, despite a clear video of the vehicle. Despite the bomber almost certainly being local, you don't travel hundreds of miles to blow up an obscure monument in rural Georgia. Some suggest authorities don't want to find the bomber. That prosecution would mean a trial, publicity, and potentially martyrdom for either side of the issue. Better to let it fade away. Others propose a more sinister explanation. What if the bombing was sanctioned? What if someone decided the Guidestones had served their purpose or become too much of a liability? The timing is suspicious, just as they were becoming a mainstream political issue, just as investigative journalists were digging deeper into their origins. Candace Taylor's response was telling. "God is God, all by himself," she tweeted. That includes striking down the satanic Guidestones. She later walked it back, but her initial reaction was celebration. Divine intervention, she suggested, or perhaps human intervention divinely inspired. But here's what doesn't add up. If Christian fundamentalists destroyed the Guidestones for being satanic, why the professional execution? Why not claim credit for striking a blow against evil? Extremist groups usually want recognition for their actions. Unless it wasn't extremists. Unless it was someone who wanted it to look like extremist action while achieving a different goal entirely. Consider what the bombing accomplished. It removed a monument that was becoming problematic for multiple parties. It prevented further investigation into its origins and funders. It destroyed any physical evidence that might have been hidden in or under the structure. And it created a narrative of religious extremism that overshadowed questions about who really built it and why. The Guidestones are gone, but their message remains. Screenshots of the 10 guides circulate endlessly online. The mystery of R.C. Christian continues to fascinate researchers. And the questions they raised about population, governance, and humanity's future grow more urgent each year. Were they a warning or a plan? A philosophical exercise or an operational blueprint? The work of idealistic humanists or eugenic elitists? We know Herbert Kirsten was involved. We know he believed in population control and selective breeding. We know he had money, connections, and a 20-year plan. We know he chose astronomical alignments used by ancient mystery schools. We know he referenced Rosicrucian imagery and Enlightenment philosophy. But we don't know who else was involved. We don't know if the group still exists. We don't know if other monuments or projects were planned. And we don't know why someone felt compelled to destroy the evidence in 2022. What we do know is that ideas inscribed in stone have a way of outliving their monuments. The 10 Commandments survived the destruction of the tablets. The Code of Hammurabi survived the fall of Babylon. And the Georgia Guidestones' 10 guides, especially that first one about maintaining humanity under 500 million, have taken on a life of their own. Every time a billionaire discusses population control, people remember the Guidestones. Every time the UN promotes global governance, people remember the Guidestones. Every time there's talk of a Great Reset or Build Back Better, people remember the Guidestones. The monument is gone, but it achieved its purpose. It planted an idea, a vision of the future that some find utopian and others find dystopian. A world of 500 million humans living in harmony with nature, speaking one language, governed by reason rather than faith, breeding for fitness and diversity. Whether that future comes through catastrophe or design, through natural collapse or orchestrated reduction, remains to be seen. But somewhere perhaps R.C. Christian's small group of loyal Americans or their successors are still working toward that vision, still planning, still preparing. And maybe that's why the Guidestones had to go, not because they were satanic, but because they were becoming too obvious. Too much attention was focusing on questions that weren't meant to be asked. Who really runs the world? What future have they planned for us? And are we meant to be among the 500 million who survive, or the 7.5 billion who don't? The Georgia Guidestones stood for 42 years. They were destroyed in seconds. But their shadow may stretch far longer than their substance ever did, because once you've seen the plan carved in stone, you can't unsee it. Once you know someone spent millions to tell humanity how to restructure, after an apocalypse, you have to wonder, Are they waiting for that apocalypse or engineering it? Next week on the Rabbit Hole Chronicles, we're investigating the Phoenix Lights, March 13th, 1997. Thousands of witnesses across Arizona see massive V-shaped craft silent in the night sky. The military's explanation of flares doesn't match what people saw. Even the governor, who initially mocked the sightings, later admitted he saw something otherworldly. What really flew over Phoenix that night? And why did it take 20 years for the truth to start emerging? Until then, I'm Percival Blackwood, reminding you that sometimes the most dangerous monuments are the ones in our minds. And sometimes someone decides even those need to be destroyed. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and maybe check who's funding that roadside monument in your town.